And things are imploding by design in the euro right now, militarily. There is all sorts of escalation and hack attacks shutting down many government and private networks in South Korea. They're claiming the North, who can't even manufacture an automobile, have supposedly launched these attacks. If these are real attacks, it's the Chinese that use North Korea as a sock puppet. We're going to be going over all that. Here's some of the incredible headlines we're going to be breaking down. Is Spain preparing for its own deposit levy? And then Zero Hedge breaks down some of the Spanish newspapers saying they are. And you have the German head of the German central bank calling for a 15% levy, of course, in Italy. That's on record. And so this is moving across Europe right now. Cypriot business owner, the Germans want to destroy us like they bombed London in World War II. They're using economic weapons, but Germany's getting the blame. The German people are paying the bill for the mega bankers to come in and basically finance the takeover of the other countries. It's the same thing. So the Germans are getting blamed again. And, of course, Germany is the center of the spoke of Europe, financing it because the Germans work so incredibly hard and invent so many things. It is the engine of Europe, but they've been financing their own destruction. The Germans don't like this. They want out of the euro. But see, they use divide and conquer all over Europe. Oh, the Germans, they're the ones. Not Goldman Sachs, not J.P. Morgan, not Bank of England. And we don't blame the British people either. It's these institutions. It's incredible. We're going to be going over all that. Cyprus crisis deepens. Bailout rejected. Banks may not reopen. The German central bank that runs the euro, yeah, I've got the quotes here, is saying, okay, how about none of your money then? If you don't agree to 10% off the top and money whenever we want on top of all your taxes, then we just will not open the banks again. I mean, this is crazy land, but it's where we knew it would go. And they'll probably capitulate, and then a few years from now, there'll be more bailouts. That's how this works. Iceland said no, 3 years ago now, and they have the fastest growing economy compared to England, all of the UK, the rest of the Atlantic island nations, and the United States and Canada. Those numbers came out 2 days ago because they said no, and it turned out almost all the debt was not theirs. They paid off the 7% or so debt that was really theirs, the 90+%. They said, hey, we're going to arrest our banking ministers that signed us on to this with Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Bank of England, and others. At first, the British government called them terrorists. You could pull that up and said no Icelander can use British Airwaves or come to England. 400,000 people. They said, fine, crooks, we won't come to your stinking country. They had to back off. Call their bluff. Now, here is member of the UK EU Parliament, Nigel Farage, who we're working to get on the show, last night saying, get your money out. They're going to implode everything. We're going to go out to break with a clip of this.
Well, it can't afford Cyprus to fail, it can't afford Greece to fail, Portugal, Spain or Ireland. They know that once one country goes, the whole deck of cards will come tumbling down, and countries like Germany will realise absolutely vast losses, possibly as much as €1 trillion. So they are prepared now to do anything, literally anything, to try to keep the euro afloat, and that is why they've now resorted, as I say, to what can only be described as theft.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama T-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It T-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and T-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants.
So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, we're live. We're kicking off the transmission right now on this Wednesday, 20th day of March, 2013. We've got Rosa Corey of Behind the Green Mask, really the firebrand out there eloquently, with precision, fighting Agenda 21 in the trenches at point-blank range. She's here and speaking to her across Texas. She is scheduled, as they say, to be in studio with us coming up in the second hour today. Okay, where to start? Obviously, we're going into a contrived global financial crisis, which the mega banks believe they're going to use to hold the planetary system hostage under economic espionage and economic fraud, economic hijacking, to accept a new global digital SDR currency pegged with some gold and some petrodollars backing it. And that's officially at Davos for a decade. They've been moving towards that. That's what comes out of Bilderberg. That's the plan. So we've been saying, look for them to start regional wars, destabilization operations in the Middle East, Central Asia, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, other Mediterranean areas, Far East into Southeast Asia, the North Pacific area, basically worldwide chaos. If you had to describe the New World Order, it'd be, I guess, the bad guys from Get Smart, because they are chaos agents. And then they always have the actuary breakdowns and the groups, the IMF, the World Bank, the Exim Bank, the International Bank of Settlements, the OECD. Look up these groups, folks. There to then respond to the crisis with what? More Western taxpayer money, more get-out-of-jail-free cards, more diplomatic immunity, more world government, where they create a wall of red tape to control you and shut you and your country down while they exempt themselves. So it is 21st century warfare based on the old British great game that itself is the old Roman great game of divide and conquer. How did the Romans, that were maybe 7-8% of the known world population that they were dominating at any one time, how were they able to control everybody? Divide and conquer. Balkanization. Divide and conquer. Balkanization. That's why you see that at every level of society. They want you to think inherently about fighting with yourselves and having no unity unless it's in your little racial group or religious group that they control or manipulate, instead of having an identity in liberty and freedom and justice and creativity and renaissance and enlightenment. They don't want that, the true illumination. You see, they call themselves the Illuminati, but they're illuminated, they believe. They want you in darkness. See, they're a counterfeit, so I use words like illuminate, or I use a term like billions of points of light, our sentient minds, following God's plan, bringing light and salt to the world. And the Bible says that, bring light, salt to the world. But see, the devil says he's going to bring light to the earth as well. But he's not bringing illumination. That's why their symbol is the owl, because it sees in the night and you don't. And they bring darkness so that you can't see and they can see. And once you figure out their game plan and their handbook, their playbook, it is laughably obvious and simple. Because they arrange it, it's stacked on itself. Their management systems are stacked, but it's the same management system at each level, at each ring, concentric rings that centralize down to fewer and fewer people as you go towards the paramount top, as you go towards the apex, the peak. But it's the same management system. So if you know one level, you know the next level. And incredible things are happening worldwide right now. I want to play you a clip from RT last night. It's up at Infowars.com via Zero Hedge. I want to play you a clip of Nigel Farage, who survived a very mysterious plane crash during his last campaign for EU Parliament, because he's a real leader. They're going to end up replacing the Conservative Party, just like the real Tea Party could replace the Republicans here. David Cameron's panicking. The liberals are panicking. The fake conservatives are panicking. He barely survived a plane crash. Joel Skousen had a very, I think, mysterious plane crash. The plane never, I watched the newscast, has never been known to have that problem. Coming in on landing, the engine totally failed. It flipped end over end, and he got out basically unscathed. They're calling it a miracle. That happened the day before he was on with us last week, and he didn't even tell. I wonder why he had a little cut on his head and his nose. And then later, people were sending me emails, stuff saying, you didn't know he was in a plane crash? He's on with us next. Thank God he's okay. He's on with us next Monday. A World Affairs Brief, former Navy, Marine Corps, Vietnam War pilot, carrier pilot. And, of course, I mean, this just keeps happening to patriots, folks. It's very suspicious. I mean, how many Congress people's planes blow up or disappear? Or Larry McDonald, the list goes on and on. Very, very suspicious. I mean, if something like that happens to me, and I'm not a pilot, but if something like that happens to me and suspicious, I want it investigated. Because there's a lot of that going on, a lot of that happening. And I laugh because it's uncomfortable. But I'm going to go over hack attacks happening all over the world right now that are being blamed on North Korea. North Korea cannot tie its shoelaces. They drive around in 57 Chevys, the government does. It's a crumbling joke of parasitic intrigue. But they're saying the South got this massive financial and government hack attack. J.P. Morgan saying it's not a hack, that all their computers said zero in balances. I've talked to IT people. That's not how those systems work. I've talked to people in banking. That's not how they work. It's very suspicious. I'm going to get into what that really signifies from different perspectives. We're going to look at, they're now talking about taking money not just out of Greece and not just out of Cyprus, the Cypriot people, and not just Italy, but now Spain. This is really spreading. And again, people say, well, it will destroy confidence. It will destroy confidence. Why would they do this? Because it'll be the same mega banks that implode their front banks. They can change the name of Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan, or they can change the name, just like they've done, of the brokerage houses and banks, Lehman Brothers and stuff. They imploded in 2008. It's the private shareholders. The banks are front holding companies. The central banks are holding company fronts for the holding companies. Again, fronts in front of fronts in front of fronts in front of fronts. It's come out the Rothschilds every time they arrest, or almost every time they arrest some Russian oligarch in Russia, who's got 6, 7, 10, 15 billion. They have yachts the size of World War II battleships. No joke. Pull up Russian oligarchs' yacht docks in New York a few months ago. I mean, it's like a battleship. It's a cruise ship. And the point is that every time they arrest one of them or try to seize their bank accounts, it turns out it's a Rothschild front. So the Rothschilds sued newspapers a few years ago saying, stop saying we're puppet masters. And then the judge found it was actually true. Yeah, there it is. Now, that's a boat, world's largest yacht belonging to a Russian billionaire. I'm not even saying he's a corrupt guy. I don't know all his details. Docks in New York. But the point is, that's what's going on with the Russian people's money. See, they never really got privatization in Russia. They took the Duma-controlled Communist Party system, controlled by a few hundred guys, and they all left the Duma and put their puppets in, like Putin, and went, and they're total drugged out of his mind, Yeltsin, who couldn't even talk. They put him up there, while they all then went and took over the nickel, the iron, the steel production, the oil, the natural gas. It's all just big mafia combines, and it's truly, truly, truly disgusting. Okay, so we're going to try to get him on in the next few days. He's a very busy man, but he does come on when we request it. He's really the Ron Paul of Europe now. And again, he's elected to the EU Parliament, but he'll point out that the EU bureaucracy that exempts itself from EU taxes makes all the rules. They just pass things, and then it's a recommendation, and it's all ignored by a bureaucracy who's all Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Bank of England execs. I mean, they appoint presidents and prime ministers now over these countries. Europe has been financially conquered, but it's a fraud. Admit you've been conquered and admit that they're holding you hostage. Things aren't going to get better. Most of the Cyprus debt is not their debt. It is globalist debt they've been signed on to.
As we saw in Katrina, and as we are watching now in New York and New Jersey, the federal government can't and won't help you in a crisis. FEMA ran out of water and MREs in days. Electricity is still off to over 1 million people. The Red Cross, who is quick to beg for money, is now slow to react. Don't put it off any longer. Get prepared today. While you're on InfoWarsShop.com, check out these other great preparedness items. The Aquapod kit lets you store up to 65 gallons of water in your bathtub. pocket socket provides you with manual electricity for small electronics like your cell phone. The Life Straw is great for your bug-out bag. And check out our complete line of Interfood products for great tasting and nutritionally dense foods that have a great shelf life. If you are looking to secure your home in a crisis, you can order Strategic Relocations, the film, a great companion to the book Strategic Relocations 3rd edition, and The Secure Home by Joel Skousen. When the time to perform arrives, the time to prepare has already passed. Get prepared now, so if a crisis strikes your home, you and your family will be secure. Go to InfoWarsShop.com.
But I want to continue with what's happening with bank runs here and around the world, seeing some of the glitches and problems that are being rolled out. But let's go up to InfoWars.com first. If you go to the featured news areas, Chinese eugenicist factory collects genius DNA to breed enhanced people. Chinese may launch eugenics operations for economic reasons, offering it to the world. That's why they take your blood for now 41 years at birth in all Western countries to put it in a UN database. I, of course, broke that 16 years ago. It was declassified about 5 years ago. Oh, they secretly take your blood. Of course they do. They spy on you. They do whatever they want. They put cancer viruses in the vaccines. You're not in Kansas anymore, folks. Syrian rebels caught on tape discussing chemical weapons attack. Well, yeah, last year we had video of them talking about that. And now there's new ones. Doesn't matter. They'll just blame it on Assad and say he's al-Qaeda while they use al-Qaeda and publicly arm them. It's just the American people say, good, kill everybody, nerve gas them. Feinstein vows not to play dead on anti-Second Amendment bill. Look, she brings out her ultra-radical bill. So now the bill that's gone through has banning of private sales and basically national registration and letting the police say everybody's mentally ill and throw you in a mental institution, which all authoritarian systems have done. And we just saw a case in Williamson County that was in the paper where they're always, setting up innocent people. They're famous for that. Throwing lawyers who are totally well-spoken, have no criminal record, who sue them. They just come and arrest you and throw you in a mental institution for 3 years and, drug you up. And then finally, the person's a lawyer, so has other lawyers sue and get you out. And you hear the person interviewed, they're totally cogent. That's the problem, is that they're charging people for hay dust and giving them 5 years in prison. They're charging people and giving them 5 years in prison if in your own creek cows go down and drink and some mud gets into the creek, something animals have always done. Look at Africa, they're running free and open. The animals go down and the water buffalo go down, the same thing as a cow, same species, just wild. You're arrested. You let a couple balloons go for your girlfriend, as a present. State police pull over by your house. You just let those balloons go? Yeah, for my girlfriend. All right, you're facing multiple counts, 5 years in jail per balloon. It's a felony, and he'll have his guns taken. And the jury will convict. And then they will pay to keep him in jail for 3 or 4 years of the sentence, building things for 25 cents an hour, and then they'll wonder why they don't have a job. They won't figure it out because they want to get hurt. They want to get hurt bad. It's a religion to be a chump. It's a religion to get run over. It's a religion to be abused. It's a religion to have the largest prison population. It's a religion to have an illegal foreign banking government crushing other countries and crushing us. $85 billion. They're just running up our debt where it's impossible to pay back, giving it to the IMF and World Bank, which are part of the Federal Reserve. Its local name is Federal Reserve. You're a foreign banking takeover arm. You call yourself the Federal Reserve. I'm convinced hijackers could take over aircraft and put on the captain's suit and walk out and say, I am the captain. And, they could be, I am Habib Ahmed, I am the captain, even have bombs strapped on them. And most people on board the plane would kneel. And if the captain ran out in his underwear and said, no, he's got my uniform, the people on board would attack the clear American, whether he was black, white, Hispanic, whatever. They would tear him apart and just start bowing. Oh, we love you. Oh, and then they would probably grab hand grenades and pull the pens out. Kill me. You're the government. It's mass Stockholm syndrome. I'm serious. As long as you just say you're the government and you're actually scary, they fall before you. Now, if you're good and wholesome and want to help them, they attack you like piranhas. If you talk common sense, you're a terrorist. And I have the Southern Poverty Law Center, one of their new reports right here. Look at this if you're a TV viewer. Look at the drawing they did of me where I look like some kind of evil superhero. You guys document cam on this? I mean, look at that. And they say I'm one of the leading terrorists, ladies and gentlemen. I am a deadly terror. Look how evil I look. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. And there's a new comic book out, a new Avengers, where the Red Skull is like throwing some fat redneck down, and it's me. Yeah, I look like a mean John Lithgow there. I mean, this is the type of stuff. And the public loves it. They're like, take everything I got. You know, shoot my kid up with cancer viruses. You know, it's fine. You know, give my baby 50 vaccines. I'll have a convulsion and die. Put me in jail. Thank you for killing my baby. Throw me in jail. They'll apologize when they go to prison. You know, it's like, you want your bank account taken. You want to die young. You want aspartame in your milk. You want brain damage. You want it. You got it. I'm talking to new listeners who love the government. You're right. They're going to rape you hard. You love it. Just make sure you thank the New World Order.
Jakari Jackson here, and I want to talk to you for a second about water. You know about ProPure, our flagship water purification system, but check out some of our portable water filter products at InfoWarsStore.com. The clearly filtered water pitcher. Also, for those of you on the go, we have the Athlete Edition filtered water bottle and the RAD Eliminator Pro filtered sports bottle that removes radiation. And keep in mind, we have replacement filters for all of these products. The ever-popular grab-and-go bag favorite, the Life Straw, the Crystal Quest shower filter system, and the Aquapod kit, great for mass storage of water. And while you're at the InfoWars shop, pick up a copy of our latest book, 31 Days to Survival. You can find all this and more at the InfoWarsStore.com. And don't forget, it's your support that funds our operation. Sign up for our free newsletter at InfoWars.com/newsletter.
And resistance to tyrants is the only thing that will produce a good, healthy, happy, incredibly wealthy, and prosperous society. And then those that win the liberty are always the greatest generation. The 1776ers are our real greatest generation. People that went through the Depression were a great generation compared to what we've become because they went through hell, and that made them stronger. As Victor Hugo said, adversity makes men, prosperity makes monsters. And it's really true. And then generations become decadent. They become slobs. And then they don't want to hear about tyranny. They don't want to hear about corruption. They want to say that doesn't exist and laugh at those that warn them. And then when you laugh at those that warn you about tyranny, well, pretty soon it grows and grows and grows. And then you still have to defend the tyranny because you don't want to admit you were wrong. Plus, now the tyranny's out in the open and scary. And so you stick your head deeper in the sand. You run further under the black wings of the New World Order and snuggle up to its undercoat, you know, begging it for some more government vomit. But now it's not little chunklets of meat stolen by Mommy Vulture. Now Mommy Vulture's spewing down acid on top of your little gosling head, and it's not going to be very fun. Recognizing the threat, recognizing the enemy operations is half the battle. Recognize it, identify it, demonize it, because that's not hard. You just show what it is. It's demonized. It's the enemy. It's trying to demonize us because they know we're the antidote. So demonize them, hit them as hard as you can, expose all their crimes. Only problem is they're so unbelievable, people won't believe it. And they will fall. They will fall. In any fight, ladies and gentlemen, don't think about who's winning. Can't tell you how many physical fights I got in, and I'm not a tough guy, but I grew up in Dallas, got in a lot of fights, where some guy'd be pounding on you, and he'd stop after he punched you a few times to see if you were going to fall over. And that was always my opportunity, even if they were faster and tougher than me, that okay, they just let up. You know, now I'm hurt bad, now I can turn on the good old boy juice, you know, and stomp their butt in the ground. And it's the same thing. Just stop listening to them. They're going to tell you we're powerless. They're going to tell you we're losing. They're going to tell you we're pathetic. They're going to tell you we're defeated. Just keep swinging. Keep swinging, ladies and gentlemen, and they will fall. Their whole New World Order will fall because things are about to get a lot worse. And if you think this radio show has exploded because what we've talked about is coming true, imagine when more and more comes true. Imagine what's going to happen when you've talked about this stuff to your friends, family, and neighbors, and it starts all coming true. Now you're going to be the go-to person. I can't tell you how many police officers and how many federal officers have called into this show or that I've run into personally. I mean, I've run into them when they're protecting, you know, famous people. I'll just leave it at that. Well, one time, it's so long ago I can talk about it, the Bush daughters. Federal marshals, you know, wanting my autograph and stuff, and you know, talking to me about the New World Order and all the rest of it. I mean, it just constantly happens. On average, these are not bad people. They're compartmentalized. They know my show's telling the truth because they're in the belly of the beast. They are seeing all this stuff for themselves. I have found it easier to wake up people in the power structure than the general public. It's easier to wake up military. It's easier to wake up police. It's easier to wake, and I'm not kissing up to those groups either. People know I used to be at a fundamental primitive level attacking all those groups because I saw them as the tentacle of the enemy I was fighting. Until I realized the tentacle has its own brain and doesn't particularly like what it's attached to. You understand that? I've discovered we can turn the tentacles against the system because the tentacles actually came from America. They've just been hijacked. But to make a long story short, we've heard the calls where police and military were laughed at 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. They're not laughed at now. Now they're the go-to guys. Now they're the people everybody was constantly calling up for investment advice, for family advice, for New World Order advice, because they heard you talk about it. I mean, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts has talked about those people he knows in government. But, I mean, take another Roberts, Colonel Craig Roberts, who was, you know, in the Tulsa Police Department, head of the SWAT team, also a helicopter pilot, worked on the Oklahoma City bombing as a detective. And he was telling them it was the government and exposing all the names. So they put a federal investigation on him, had all the cops spying on him. Cops were getting killed as well that were investigating on the Oklahoma City force. And then now they all call apologizing and begging him to come out to meetings with them and want to know all about it. And now that he's retired. But I've heard that story hundreds of times to be conservative. So it's the same thing with you in your own life. Educate people now. Let them laugh at you. Well, now they're not really laughing. We've kind of gone past that. And be a leader in your area. But let me give you the toll-free number. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231 to jam in a few calls ahead of our guest. I'm kind of, you know, going off on a rampage here because I start talking about Stockholm Syndrome. And Stockholm Syndrome got that name decades ago from a case in Stockholm, Europe. But if you study it in history, you see it happen a lot. Where you've got people that are kidnapped, you've got people that are enslaved, you've got, I mean, there are many cases where police bust into some house where they've got, you know, 3 or 4 people chained up in a backroom sweatshop who've been prisoners for 5-10 years, and the people will fight the police to protect the enslaver. And that's called the Stockholm Syndrome. Well, you can also get that towards a corrupt government. Like North Korea, you can get mass Stockholm Syndrome where people are so scared of a hijacker, they're so scared of an abuser, that they end up groveling to them and convincing themselves that the person really has their best interest at heart. And it actually happens now. Some studies, you know, back in the 60s and things showed about 25% of people roughly would go under Stockholm very quickly. Now it's over 60% revert to Stockholm. You remember the Stanford research program? They had a few other university programs where they could get graduate students to torture people and then follow orders to kill them, believing they were killing people. And they found on average over 90% would kill if their professor told them to kill. Well, see, I'm not one of those people. Whenever I talk under my breath and talk to the crew, people are like, what's he talking about? I tell them I'm hearing bleed over. I don't know if it's from the network or what it is, but I got clips in my ear. Sound like bumper music. All right. Got to diagnose that while we're live on the air. People won't find it. Won't find it later. We've been adding some new stuff to the studio, so some of that stuff can happen. All right, now continuing here, let's just go to some of your phone calls because I need to reset. And when you hear talk show hosts say reset, it means you get so many ideas going in your mind, so many points that it's really impossible to then pull back and try to cover it all. But I just want to get this message out to everybody. Having the Stockholm Syndrome, loving your abusers, giving into it, doing what it says, is going to destroy you. And if you buy into this false reality they're spewing, we're going to have the total implosion of our society and an authoritarian nightmare that is going to look pale insignificance.
All right. Well, we'll talk later.
I love Obama. Oh my God, I'm dying for Obama. I will kill for Obama.
You will kill for Obama?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And that is just an example of the type of people that are out there who have their payroll taxes raised, their whole future destroyed, and they have childlike looks in their eyes. We could see the videos, the radio listeners they were just playing. It's just abject 3-year-old. It's like a delusional 3-year-old. And they love the delusion. They love the Stockholm Syndrome. They love the lie. And I've just seen it hundreds and hundreds of times where they're completely childlike. And they completely buy into anything and everything they're told. And for those of us that are awake, there's not just those that are in the Stockholm Syndrome. There's also people that are so threatened by it that they're scared deep down, so they lie to themselves. And then they also say that those of us that say we know what's going on, that we're showing off, that we think we're smarter than they are. I ought to send an email to Papa Booey of the Howard Stern Show, because after I was on Howard Stern, it was such a popular interview, I was driving the next day listening to a rebroadcast of the After wrap-up show. And he was saying, well, you know, Alex Jones is an interesting guy, but he thinks he's smarter than other people. He thinks he knows things and sees things that we don't. And then he's like, I just don't see the world being that complex and people having it together. And you know what? You're right. The general public doesn't have it together, and things are falling apart, and the average person is in a trance. So you're judging the elitist, the globalist, off of how you see the world and people around you. See, the globalists are social engineers. They've all written books how they set this up. Bertrand Russell, countless others. So I've read all the books they've written, many of the books, Carol Quigley, Tragedy and Hope, The Anglo-American Establishment by Carol Quigley, The Technotronic Age, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Club of Rome documents. I mean, we've had people take out of the National Archives, you know, that's got restricted, do not release senators' papers about world government and Bilderberg, and you know that we publish big breaking stuff, and then it's not even a big deal. People won't even go read the documents. So see, I'm covering something. It's like talking about the last Super Bowl. I know who won the last Super Bowl. I mean, it's not like it's my opinion. I know what happened. It's like saying there was a power outage at the Super Bowl. That happened. They're like, oh, that's your opinion, there was a power outage. And I'm not criticizing him. I want to send him an email and ask to come on his show and like really walk through some of this stuff. Because let me tell you what Stockholm Syndrome is. It's when you're abused and you defend the abuser because it convinces you that you're in control. You're not in control. You're chained up. And these psychopaths know how to break you and control you, where they finally know you're broken and where they can take your chains off and you'll do whatever they say forever. And then you will defend your enslaver because you're delusional, and what you're afraid of is admitting you were conned, that you were manipulated. But the lie begins, that's later, the lie begins by thinking that if you just like this person that's abusing you and do whatever they want, somehow that will give you power over it. Delusional people are into playing tricks, and I've noticed losers and failures always have systems and manipulations they're running and games they're playing, and they imagine things are like dominoes that are going to fall one into the other in some master plan. And it's those very people that will deny there's a globalist master plan, though they're fantasizing about it themselves. But see, the globalists are building on thousands of years of developed survival of the fittest tyrannies out of the Roman and then British model that actually do work. But I've noticed the loser population plays at intrigue, plays at manipulation. And I'm just getting off into a hall of mirrors here in my own mind, just trying to understand what the globalists are up to. But really, They have a philosophy of cheat, don't be for any side, care about no one, and then try to manage whatever new crisis there is with more BS because you're in the positions of power. That's why societies end up falling under these people, because they lie to themselves. So if it doesn't make sense at some levels, it's because they're smoking their own dope. The globalists have their own Stockholm Syndrome to what they have released. They have their own Stockholm Syndrome to what they've created. They think they're in control of this. They think they're the authors of a machine that was started more than 6,000 years ago in ancient tyrannies in Egypt, Babylon, Tyre, then Greece, Rome, the Venetians, the Byzantines, on through the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, and then the Renaissance against it. And we are the Renaissance. Those of us we are the thinkers, we are the lovers. We are the people that believe humanity should be empowered. We're the people that want destiny, that want to taste it, who want to live it, who want to empower, who want to grow, who want to see people win. And the globalists are cancer. They're a bunch of greedy, stunted, wicked people who are in control because they're willing to break the rules like cancer, and they must be routed out, they must be removed, they must be destroyed. I'm going to get into massive hack attacks going on, they claim, around the world. I believe are false flags driven by the global crime syndicate for a takeover from South Korea to the United States. What's happening with the zero balances for everybody with JP Morgan Chase bank accounts in the U.S. and their debit cards. What really happened with that? Cyprus crisis deepens. German government says, along with the EU, give us 10% out of all your bank accounts, or we'll just shut all the banks and take all your money. Oh, man. I mean, it's just the lawlessness because everybody lays down. And they're going to do this here. They're moving towards America. They're going to do us last. Need to explain that to everybody here. They've saved the best for last. So I just want to impart this to you. Groveling and laying down is what empowers these people. They always say compromise. They never compromise. And I know our hardcore listeners know this, but it's time for the whole world to get serious about what's happening and realize it. You know, I haven't had a call from this station in years. We had this station as an affiliate like 15 years ago. I know they've got a couple more stations there, so I knew we had a AM there, but a KCXL 100.29 FM, so 102.9 in Kansas City. Steve in Missouri, you're on the air. Go ahead, and thanks for holding.
It's an honor to talk to you. You're the catalyst for my waking up many years back. I was calling because I was thinking yesterday about, I've wondered for a while why the Bush regime would allow the assault weapons ban to expire to begin with, and it made me think of Rumsfeld, you know, arming North Korea or Iran and Afghanistan and all them guys, and kind of arming their enemies before they go to war with them. It was just see what you thought about that.
Well, I mean, we had taken back the House to a great extent, some good people, and so that was defeated. But they're acting like it's a victory that Feinstein's bill's in trouble. She'll get that with the next shooting. It's got the end of private sales where you can't give a gun to your grandson or your son or your daughter, and where I can't trade guns with my dad or have him go, you know, hey, your great uncle died, here's his shotgun. I mean, the reason I probably got 50, 60 guns is most of them are dead relatives' guns. I mean, a lot of them are. And it just ends all that and then registers everything so they can confiscate them when criminals don't even follow the laws. And so we need to beat all these bills. We need to get rid of the 68 Gun Control Act because criminals are going to have guns anyways. And they're now creating felonies, sir, for a battery, you know, a AA battery in your backyard's 5 years in jail by accident. Your kid's left out there. And I find batteries all the time in my yard because, you know, the kids play with toys and they fall out. I mean, and let me tell you, I mean, every month I see some guy arrested for that, okay? I mean, I'm not just saying that. I mean, balloons. A balloon goes in the air, you're going to jail. I mean, we launch balloons all the time. My kids love doing it. We'll tie something to it. And I mean, it's over. So I say get rid of all gun control laws, everything. Get rid of it all. That's the answer. Go ahead.
Well, the founding fathers, when the Second Amendment was drafted, citizens, I think you made this point before, had cannons. There was no bigger, better armament at the time than a cannon. They didn't even it didn't even cross their mind, I believe, to take the cannons from the people. I believe that, yeah, we have a right to bear arms, and
Hey, last time I checked, buddy, there are more than 50,000 Barrett semi-auto 50s in America and hundreds of thousands of bolt action. That yeah, you could take airplanes down with them. There's never been a crime with a 50 except one armored car robbed in the 80s. Again, because gun owners are so law-abiding. So take all the laws off of us. We're good people. It's not that we're just law-abiding. If you don't trust the people with guns, how do you trust the government? See, the government's always far more dangerous. And I know you know that, brother. Rosa Corey has got very important breaking news on the globalist crime syndicate's political mafia offensive in the United States. And those aren't verbal flourishes right there that you just heard. That is exactly what we are facing. So she's going to be joining us with big breaking news, the Empire striking back, their counteroffensive. Right now, let's go to George in New Jersey. You're on the air, sir.
Morning or afternoon to you, Alex. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. Thank you for calling.
Good. Real quick, I wanted to pass along some information regarding the 11-year-old who had the Health and Human Services or welfare caseworkers show up, and the police officers visited his home last Friday because of a photo of a .22 caliber copy of an AR on Facebook. And the police demanded to actually look in the homeowner's gun safe. I sent a link to Kurt for you, so you can pull that up probably from your website at this point.
What was the headline? I'll pull it up.
Family says New Jersey overreacted to boy's gun photo that was on the Daily Journal, our local newspaper.
Oh, yeah, I have it. So his parents legally have what a lot of kids have. It looks like an AR-15, but it's a .22. We were just out shooting those with the kids the other day because it's a great trainer gun for them. And they demanded to come and use that, I guess without a warrant is the issue, because I see that in the news, for that. It's like...
They had no warrant whatsoever. They just showed up unannounced. And
well, by the way, it talks about the camouflage-clad child. I don't always go with fads. I only go with a style if it's in. And I always love to go hunting and hanging out because I love to wear camouflage, and, it's just fun. Kind of like being a big kid. I'm wearing camo today. Might wear camo every couple of weeks. I got a couple shirts that are camo. I got a duck hunting, thing I got decades ago I've worn before on air. But the point is that it's fun. And they describe him as, it's very frightening. I just saw the article. He had camo on and a gun. Let's put the evil photo back up. And, this is like kids getting kicked out of school because a pastry looks like a gun. There's no law, but they do it to just create this idea of total hysteria to demonize it. I totally agree with you.
I do have a nephew also who has a son who was suspended for 3 days in New Jersey for pointing his finger in the shape of a gun. He is a third grader in the city of Vineland here. And
oh, yeah, all the video games, all the Avenger movies, guns, guns, guns. All kids always play with guns. We used to take our toy guns to school. My dad took his real guns to school to go shooting after school. Now, again, pointing your finger, that's how they're going to ban the guns, is the kids are going to be so neurotic growing up that just pointing a finger is enough to go to a FEMA camp.
I'm an electronics tech, and I actually did some work putting cameras in school buses. I did win a contract for doing that for our local public schools. Anyway, very Orwellian. There's a photo that goes above the camera, and it's literally right out of 1984. It's a picture of a gentleman's eyes just staring at everybody in the bus. You ever notice those photos with eyes, no matter where you move, they seem to always look at you?
No, same thing was done 5 years ago, 6 years ago in London. They put up big signs saying, "You are now safe under the eyes of Big Brother," and shows a giant eye in the sky beaming the bus, and that was the ad for the bus cameras. And they're saying, no, Big Brother is good. And in Stockholm Syndrome, they're now literally using 1984 as an owner's manual. It's now an instruction manual.
We're talking kindergarten students here who are getting subjected to this sort of nonsense.
Well, it's not. But again, we call it nonsense, and I call it that because like, this is nonsense. It's not. It's hardcore brainwashing re-education camp. The public schools are the equivalent of Soviet re-education centers.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, they force the kids on drugs, force them on shots, feed them horrible, bad food. Mommy and daddy can't pack lunches. The kids write reports on what mommy and daddy are doing. And they're there to hurt your child and put them on Ritalin and Prozac. You may not have the average teacher who's bad, but the system is globalist, UN, Agenda 21, UNESCO, treaty run. Now the EU global control banks are telling Cyprus that, hey, we may just shut your bank accounts completely down. That's being reported by NBC World News. But it's in the fine print. It says Cyprus crisis deepens, bailout rejected, banks may not reopen. And then you read later, well, we'll just never let you have any of your money. We'll just shut them down. And the banks are closed right now. They're supposedly going to reopen on Friday, but now they're saying maybe never if you don't do what we say. And then you had Chase JP Morgan customers yesterday evening for 2.5 hours or the day before yesterday show zero. People couldn't buy stuff. They couldn't do things. And I think that something's suspicious there. Like they do flash trading. There's tens of billions of dollars of deposits, even more than that. Imagine 2.5 hours, that money being able to be used for other things, moved into other things. I think it's very suspicious. I've talked to IT people, and they have all those systems backed up. You wouldn't have everybody's card go to zero. If there's sunspots or something and a satellite's down, you know, not even all the gas stations go down. And it says your card doesn't work. It doesn't give you the data of zero. So I've talked to some IT people, and they say it's very, very, very suspicious because those systems are all backed up. The banking thing is not on one server or one group of servers. And there's been supposed hack attacks against South Korea, they say by North Korea. Obama, of course, is going to Israel, and now there's been supposed nerve gas attacks in Syria. They're trying to blame on the government there. A year ago, we told you, look for a false flag on that front. That is just some of what we're going to be covering. But what about this report? Attorney says prosecution of abortionists who snap newborn babies' necks is racist. House of Horrors doctor charged with killing children that had already been born. The point is that this is the new thing. You don't want government-run health care? You're a racist. Don't want to turn your guns in? You're a racist. If you don't like the weather, it must be. Having any opinion is racist because the abortionist, the abortion doctor, is a black guy. And, of course, most of the babies are black. I mean, it has nothing to do with it. I mean, they've prosecuted white and Asian doctors before. That's on record for doing post-partial birth. It's a horrible subject to have to get into. It's just that article's up at Infowars.com. And Alveda King, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King, goes into how this is always the tactic that they use. So we'll be covering some of that in the next hour after our guest leaves us. We've also got more and more forced drugging of people to make them tell the truth at trial. The case of James Holmes, who was already under weird government psychiatric control. Now they want to drug him so he behaves himself and tells the truth that he did it. I mean, whoa. And the drugs they're giving him will make you say whatever you're told. I mean, this is like mind control, Dr. Mingala stuff out in the open. And I want to get John Rappaport on about that. I've been talking about this for a week since they announced it, and now they're going ahead with the drugging. Unprecedented. Also, England is moving to ban open blogging, anonymous blogging, as part of their takeover of the press. They already have D notices to shut things down. That's in the news. That's in the London Guardian, you name it, saying it's tyranny. I mean, this is all happening all over the world, and this is what even CNET News said Obama's cybersecurity plan that has John McCain's support bipartisan would do. Chinese-style net censorship. That's the quote. I mean, it is happening here. Stop saying it can't happen here. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.